Hey friends, welcome back. Today's a very exciting video. I went over on my Instagram and asked you guys for your oddly specific book rec requests, and I'm here to deliver. I personally think these videos are so much fun, and I will take any opportunity to push the agenda that is some of my favorite books. So let's get into it. I want to start with one of my favorite requests because this was the first one that I got that I immediately knew what I was going to use. It says, a book that feels like when you open your blind box and it's the one that you wanted. This book does nothing but bring me happiness. Like, I think of this book at least every other day because it had every single thing I could have ever wanted from a little fantasy book. I haven't been able to talk about this book in a while. It is The Lost Story by Meg Schaefer. I love this book. There's fantasy, there's mystery, there's adventure, very much like Chronicles of Narnia-esque. And the things we learn about our characters and the plot twists that happen throughout the whole story up until the very last page, like, kept me turning the page and kept me entertained and just like on the edge of my seat because I fell in love with these characters. Very briefly, this is following the situation where there are two boys, Rafe and Jeremy. They go missing in a West Virginia, I think, state forest. Yeah, but they mysteriously reappear like 6 months later, but no one knows ever what happened to them during the time that they were missing. But now, 15 years later, Rafe is like a reclusive artist and still bears some scars from the time that they were away. And Jeremy has now become like a missing persons investigator. Like, he can find women and children when no one else is able to. And our main character is looking for her like long lost estranged sister, who we learn has been missing for a while. And she brings this case to Jeremy. So that's the situation. They end up working together to try to figure out what happened to her sister, but Jeremy and Rafe no longer talk to one another really because it's complicated. But Jeremy needs to enlist Rafe because they have to be together in order to solve this one case because her sister went missing in the same forest that they did. And he thinks it's related in some way. And it is just so good. It's just so good. Read this book. That's my recommendation. The next one was a nonfiction essay collection, which I thought was a fun little recommendation. I have one. It is They Can't Kill Us Until They Kill Us by Hanifa Durakim. This is phenomenal, especially if you want to get it on audio. There is one essay that he isn't able to necessarily read out loud because it's a more interactive. I actually kept a bookmark in there because I liked it so much. It's like a more interactive, like with your eyes sort of style essay. But this was published in, let's see, 2017? I thought it was a lot older than that. Regardless, it is very much a book of its time, essays on like the current state of the world in the United States mostly. So there are a lot of like socio-political conversations going on that are obviously still relevant to this day. But what's really fun about this essay collection is that it brings all of these issues and relates them to music. Each essay is surrounding a different musical artist. Like the very first one is Chance the Rapper, which I love the dude. In the essays, he brings in very specific like personal stories while talking about like the musical artist and what they're doing at large and relating it to like the time and place, certain situations that are going on when he was writing these essays. It's really just beautifully done and very, very entertaining, especially if you know these artists, because there's little like Easter eggs within the essays of like little call outs to lyrics that you probably know if you know the artist. It's fun and a little bit difficult, but so worthwhile. This is my recommendation. Okay, wait, this one I'm gonna do really quick. I'm not going through every single one of these books. This is a recommendation that you have to just like take it at face value, okay? Because I have like 7 books that I'm putting for this one recommendation. It was, where is it? A fever dream where I have no clue what's going on from page 1 to the end. Boy, do I have recommendations for you. This is like my favorite little subgenre of reading. Like, I'm a fantasy girly through and through, don't get me wrong, but like psychologically disturbing horror, yeah. That is like a pretty specific genre of book that I absolutely adore. There is a book that I don't own anymore. I think I sold it on Pango a while ago. It's called Fever Dream by Samantha Schweblin. That is a translated work and it is very much this vibe. Very much you have no idea what's going on. That one's really short, but here are some ones that I do physically own. Did I read this year? Yeah, I read this for Reading Booktuber's Best Books of 2024 video I did earlier this year, I believe. We Used to Live Here by Marcus Kluwer, 100%. There's a haunted house. There are people that show up and don't leave. There's a creepy basement. There is Morse code at the end of each chapter that you can figure out as you read it if you want. It's super interactive. It's very weird. There are endless theories about what actually happens within this book because, like, who freaking knows? I don't know. This is a great one. Obviously, I'm gonna say Bunny by Mona Awad. It's one of my favorite books of all time. Very fever dreamy, very disturbing at times, and think like cliquey girls at a very prestigious writing school, and they do some off-campus extracurricular culty things that get really super weird. And it's absolutely unhinged by the end. Honestly, anything by Ian Reid, but these two specifically, We Spread by Ian Reid is one of my all-time favorite books forever. Horror that talks about aging and memory loss. And then we have I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. This one grew on me. Like I really haven't stopped thinking about either of these, but this book, like, wow, it is very much like isolating, scary. Yeah, both of these for sure, if you like horror. One of my favorite books of all time is The Last House on Needless Street by Catriona Ward. Also love this author so much. If you haven't been spoiled for this book and you read it through, I could almost guarantee you that it'll blow your mind. Like at least a little bit. Like this book is crazy. I love it. There's a boarded up house on a dead end street. There lives a family of 3, a teenage girl who isn't allowed outside, not after last time, a man who drinks alone in front of his TV, trying to ignore the gaps in his memory, and a house cat who loves napping and reading the Bible. An unspeakable secret binds them together, but a new neighbor moves in next door. What is buried among the birch trees may come back to haunt them all. It's so good. The last two, Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. I feel like this is more like emotional psychological horror. So if that's more your vibe, then I would try this one first, because it definitely is fever dreamy, especially by the end. I still don't necessarily know what goes on. Is it one of my favorite books? Yes. Yes, it is. This one involves a couple. One is a deep sea explorer and one is not. The deep sea explorer goes down in a submarine for like normal expedition, but ends up not resurfacing. And her partner above water believes that she's dead, has sort of started going through this grieving process, but her partner does end up resurfacing, but not the same person that she was when she went down. And it is a whole thing. We go through both point of views with both partners, one below water and one above water, and the aftermath of being rejoined together. It is absolutely stunning, unsettling, and scary. But in like a really emotional way. It's so good. The last one is an old classic. All right, old classic. I'm gonna bring it back. Catherine House by Elizabeth Thomas. Prestigious academy people go to, especially if they want to like be someone one day. They have no technology. There are culty things going on. There's a lot of chanting. I recommend the audiobook for this one, honestly, because like during the chanting parts of like the group activities, I remember being completely entranced. And I know that if I was reading it physically, I would just skip over all the chanting, but having those chants happen in my ears like threw me into the story and completely immersed me. I remember really loving this, but I know when this book came out, it was super polarizing. Okay, next, let's do, I want a good, enriching fantasy, written well, almost poetic, with a tiny bit of romance in a female main character. Phenomenal, yes. Have you heard of the book Twilight? I mean, I'm joking, unless... The book I want to recommend is one that I think about, honestly, maybe once a month or so. Like, I read this book a long time ago and I love it. I don't hear like anyone talking about it either. This was particularly recommended to me from Daryan. She also has a booktube channel. I'll link her down below. She's one of my besties. It is Beyond the Black Door by A.M. Strickland. This book is absolutely stunning. A.M. Strickland's writing is beautiful. The world and storyline that they created within this plot, I just am obsessed with. It follows our main character, Cammy. Yeah, Kamai, maybe. She, like her mother, is a soul walker. That means that when asleep, she can journey into other people's souls. But no matter where Kamai visits, she sees the black door. It follows her into every soul, and her mother has told her to never open it. When she touches the door, it is warm and beating like it has a pulse, and when she puts her ear to it, she hears her own name whispered back from the other side. And when tragedy strikes, Cammy does the unthinkable. She opens the door. Of course she does. There wouldn't be a book if she didn't. There's a little bit of romance. There is, man, beautiful writing. The atmosphere evoked is absolutely stunning. I just think of this book so fondly. It's one that I honestly would reread. Ooh, I loved this one. It was an epic fantasy that feels like a campfire story. I knew exactly what I was gonna choose when I saw this one as well, because this book honestly just feels like a cozy classic fantasy. It is the first in a series. It is The Age of Myth by Michael J. Sullivan. In this world, there are two different like races of people, normal people and then like seemingly immortal beings called the Frey. And and during a situation, a fray falls to a human's blade, and now that person, Wraith, is deemed the god killer, which obviously then will disrupt the balance that has been known for centuries. Wraith is very reluctant to embrace his new like identity and destiny that is being the god killer. And then there's also a like prophecy, like a seer. Her name is SarahE, and she, in a different point of view, is bringing a prophecy to our other main character named Persephone, who is like leading a group of people in her village. And the little tagline is just one of my favorites. It says, "The age of myth is over, the time of rebellion has begun." And this is a book that I can tell we're just barely scratching the surface in this first one. I would be so excited to continue the series because this was like a 4.5 or a 5-star book for me. I can tell that the magic system is going to go so deep and become so rich that I could foresee it being a favorite series of all time. Ooh, this was a fun one. You guys really did well. This one was a more experimental in content, writing style, etc. fantasy book. And that was also an easy recommendation. It is The Spear Cuts Through Water by Simon Jimenez. I have never read a fantasy book like this. I've never read any book like this, and I don't know if I ever will. The writing is, again, unlike anything I've ever read, but the narrative in which we are hearing the story from is so unique. It's one that if you're like me and you have trouble like paying attention and focusing, I recommend immersion reading this one. Having it on audio, physically reading it with your eyes, because there are a bunch of like paragraph breaks with little quotes or little sentences. Sometimes that means that there's a point of view switch. Sometimes it just means like it's something to pay attention to. There are many different people telling you this story, and it jumps between them kind of seamlessly. There's also no like chapters. Sometimes there's a bigger break and it'll say things like afternoon or like there's a different time jump. But otherwise it is like a story, like a full, just continuous story. And again, the way that it's told is just so fun and so interesting. It's two warriors shepherding an ancient god across a broken land to end the tyrannical reign of a royal family. So it's like a journey style story with a lot of darkness. Don't get it confused. It's not a lighthearted story. It's really good. I thought this one was funny. It says, "Makes me feel smart, but doesn't actually need me to be." I really liked this, and I am recommending two of my favorite books ever. One is The Will of the Many by James Islington. You've probably seen it around. It is well worth the hype. I think that the magic system and world is pretty easy to understand, and the storyline is relatively simple as well. Our main character is Vis, and he's sent by his new adopted father to attend this like really high-ranking academy in order to get information for him. And he's going under a false name. However, Vis has his own agenda for going to this academy, and if anyone in his life figures out that he isn't who he really is or who they think he is, you know, they could kill him at any moment. So there's a lot of secrecy, there's a lot of mystery going on. By the end, it is wild. The final plot twists at the very end of this book, like, have my jaw on the ground to this day. I cannot wait to continue this series. I hope that that's a good recommendation because I feel like it is pretty accessible. Same with this next one. I hope you agree with me. I chose Babel by R.F. Kuang for this one as well, because even though this is a very like academic book, there's nothing so much about it to where you actually have to be knowledgeable in the things that we're discussing. For example, this book takes place in Oxford in 1836. It is the city of dreaming spires. It is the center of all knowledge and progress in the world. And at its heart is Babel, Oxford University's prestigious Royal Institute of Translation. So the magic system in this world involves translation and words and language. And our main character is Robin Swift, and he was orphaned in Canton but brought to England by a mysterious guardian. He is brought to become a translator and work within Babel, and he thought this was a paradise. He was very excited about it until it becomes a prison for many reasons that you discover. And the final sentence is, "But can a student stand against an empire?" Because there's a lot of like social issues brought up within this book and discussed to great length. The magic system, there are sometimes paragraphs of the actual translation and origin of words that if anyone else wrote them, I probably wouldn't be super intrigued. I would probably just like skip over those paragraphs. But for whatever reason, R.F. Kuang writes in a way that just absolutely entrances me. This was my favorite book of the entire year when it came out a few years ago. And I just think that this story has so much to say, and it says it so well. I chose these because I think that like historically they are both a little bit intimidating just because they're long. But if you don't mind long books, you don't have to be smart to understand or get them. Plus, they're incredible. This one I'm really confident in, okay? Fiction, but loosely based on true crime. Easy. This book was also in my top 10 of whatever year I read it. I don't know. Bright Young Women by Jessica Knoll, for sure. This is a book that is from the point of view of Ted Bundy's victims. And in the book, Ted Bundy is never named, but he is obviously in the story and talked about to great detail. And there are like on-page things going on with his killings and things like that. So very much like true crime vibes. But what I loved so much about this book is just the idea that he's never named. This book is not for him. It is for the victims, and it's to give their voices back to them and tell their stories. Jessica Knoll's writing in this was really beautiful and super engaging. I was completely surprised by the end of it. I think this is like the perfect short, quick fire recommendation for that request. This next one is Best Friends or Sisters in Magic. Very practical magic vibes. Okay, I have 2 recommendations for you for this one. One of my favorite books of all time. I would recommend waiting to read this one until the fall because the atmosphere that Alex E. Harrow is able to write in this book is just so stunning if there are leaves changing around you, especially. The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow. It's beautiful. I love it. There's 3 sisters. They're kind of estranged, but they end up coming together. In this time, witches don't exist anymore. The only way a woman can have any sort of power is in the ballot box, but things are taking a turn for the worst, and these sisters are going to have to like come together and pursue the forgotten like words and ways of being a witch, and in turn, turn the woman's movement into like the witches movement is what they say. They'll have to delve into the oldest magics, draw new alliances, and heal the bond between them if they want to survive. The quote in this book is one of my favorite things ever. I say it every time whenever I recommend this book because it's just so good. It is, "I am terrified and I am terrible. I am fearful and I am something to be feared." I love it. I very much think that these 3 sisters give practical magic vibes. I think it's beautiful and I love it a lot. Another like newer one that I don't own anymore, but I did enjoy is Inkblood's Sister Scribe by Emma Torres. In the story, there's a family tasked with guarding a trove of magical but deadly books and the shadowy organization that will do anything to get them back. There's 2 sisters, Joanna and Esther, and Joanna lives alone in the woods guarding these books, while Esther moves between countries and jobs, constantly changing, never staying anywhere longer than a year. Somehow, along her journeys, Esther finds out that Joanna, who was guarding the books back at their childhood home, is in danger, and so is she. And now, if they're both going to survive, they must unravel the secrets their parents kept hidden from them, secrets that span centuries and continents and could cost them their lives. The shadowy organization that wants to get these books back is like another like almost sanctioned large magical library of books, and the story is really fun and interesting because we're following a few different point of views, one from someone within the organization and then the 2 sisters, and it is just fun. It was a fun read. The sisters themselves sort of do give a little bit of like practical magic vibes. I would recommend it. The next request was The Smell and Feel of Sunblock on Sweaty Skin, Summer Days by a Lake. So fun. Listen, everyone's gonna know this book. And it's not even my favorite one by her at all. It's actually like kind of low on my list from her, but I still like it. And it is the one that I own that most closely parallels with this request because it literally is it. It's A Happy Place by Emily Henry. It definitely has the miscommunication trope in many ways, which is why I personally didn't like it that much, just because that's the trope that I hate the most. But I do love Emily Henry's writing, and I know that this one is a little bit even more like literary fiction and emotional, more so than a couple of her other more like rom-com centered books. So this one takes place at like a Maine cottage, and it's a situation where our 2 main characters, the 2 main love interests, have broken up like 5 months ago, but they haven't told their friend group yet because they have this trip planned and they don't want to sully the whole vacation. So they go and they're gonna just pretend to still be together, which is so messy, and it is so messy, and it is very obviously a bad idea, but it does make for an interesting book. There are many scenes where they're like out in the sun, they're by water. Obviously there's gonna be sunscreen, there's gonna be sweat. I feel like this like summer vibe of a book is very close to this recommendation. It might not be a lake. I don't know if they're at a lake house or it says a cottage. I don't remember if it's the ocean or a lake. I think there's a lake. So I hope that this is a good one for you. But those 10, I think there was 10, are the ones that I'm gonna leave you with for now. Some older books, some newer books. I hope you found at least one that you are excited to maybe pick up. Let me know which one you are most interested in down below. Or if you don't know what else to say, then leave me the eyes emoji down below in the comments. And while you're down there, please do subscribe and like the video. I always appreciate your support. And of course, be kind to one another and happy reading. See you soon. Bye.